Hi guys, we wanted to do a quick video on the DFF3D setup with TimeZero Professional. So right now we are in what we call the PC standalone mode. That means that we have TimeZero Professional directly connected to the DFF3D without any MFD on the network. If you have an MFD on the network, TimeZero Professional will of course work, but there is a slight difference in the installation that I will explain to you just after. So here again, we have the DFF3D directly connected to the computer, but even if you have only one sensor on the network, we always recommend to install a switch. Okay, we never recommend to directly connect an Avnet sensor such as the DFF3D or DFF1 or DRS directly to the PC. Always go through a switch. So that's my first recommendation. Next, of course, the first step that you have to do is to set up the IP address of the PC to the 172.31 network. So we do recommend the 172.31.3.150 IP address. I'm sure that you all know how to do that, so I'm going to skip that part. Once you have set up the IP address, I always like to ping the sensor. And with the DFF3D, what's nice, it has a fixed IP address, so we can ping its IP address directly. So you just open a command window. I'm sure that most of you know how to ping a sensor, and the IP address is 172.31.92.21, and it is in our user guide if you forget. So I'm going to ping the DFF3D, and it's perfectly recognized, so that's fine. Next step is to open TimeZero Professional, so I'm going to do that next. And then here we have two ways to connect the DFF3D. At minimum, you need to have position and heading, and actually fast heading, coming in TimeZero Professional. That's the two minimum set of data that you have and you need to configure in TimeZero. And the fast heading needs to be at about 10 Hz, so 10 times per second. And in that configuration, then TimeZero will provide position fast heading to the DFF3D, and the DFF3D will rely on its internal motion sensor for the compensation. But we highly recommend using the SE30, okay? Because the pitch, roll, and heave information that the SE30 can provide will be much more accurate. And in that case, TimeZero will send together with position and heading, pitch, roll, and heave, and the DFF3D will use that data and output a picture that will be much better, and of course output a PBG that will be much higher quality than if you only rely on the internal sensor. Okay, so we are in that setup here. We have an SE30 connected to an NMEA 2000 bus, and in order to have the high speed that we like of course to use ActiSense NGT1 to get native NMEA 2000 information in the computer, and by default all of the data, so the heading and the pitch, roll, and heave will come inside the computer at 10 Hz. So I'm going to quickly configure my NMEA 2000 connection. So I'm going to open the connection wizard. I'm going to configure it manual here because I know what I need. NMEA 2000, and here we are connected. So don't freak out. NMEA 2000 is binary data, so it means that you cannot really read anything in that window. That's fine. So I'm going to click on next, and TimeZero will analyze the data. Alright, so TimeZero is done analyzing the data. So we have lots of data on our NMEA 2000 bus here on our test board, but what's important again is position, heading, and pitch and roll. So yeah, I'm going to click next, and this is where you have to pay attention. So in PC standalone mode, so again, when there is no MFD on the network, it's very important for TimeZero to send and relay the information it gets from the SE30 on the network. And that's why we want the DFF3D motion data output to be selected. However, if you have an MFD on the network, then the MFD will take care of that. So in that case, you don't want TimeZero Professional to also send position, heading, and motion data. But actually TimeZero is smart, because if TimeZero detects an MFD on the network while the connection wizard is running, it will not ask you, and you will not even see that checkbox. But it's kind of a warning, because sometimes you might configure time zero professional while the MFD is off, and then you will have that checkbox that will be checked by default, and after you might turn on the MFD, and then time zero and the MFD will output both position, heading and motion data. So we don't want that. So just keep an eye on that last page of the connection wizard. But in your case, yes, we do want to send all of that to the DFS3D. Perfect. So here, of course, I have position. And here you can do a quick check. You should be able to display multi-sender section and all of the DFF3D information. You can also, if you want, go to the option navnet and make sure that the DFF3D is detected here. But the very important setup is under the multi-beam sender options. And here you want to scroll down to the transducer setup. And here you have to enter all of the offset, and it's very important, especially if you use an SE30, because if you do use internal motion sensor, then this offset do not have as much impact. But if you use SE30 for motion compensation, then it's very, very important. So here the best is for you to refer to our user guide. We have a nice picture, and we try to explain very clearly how the offset are measured. It can be a little bit confusing sometimes. We've seen installation where a plus or minus was reversed, so do pay attention to the way you enter the setting, and again refer to our user guide for that. The second important settings are what we call the time lag. It's important because it will tell to the DFF3D how late the data is, and it's important for an accurate motion stabilization. So again, please do refer to our user guide for the proper number to enter. And this is also why we recommend NMEA 2000, because NMEA 2000 is very fast, so it has a short time lag. If you do want to use an SE50 or SE110 or SE70 or even an SE30 via NMEA or NH3, try to use a very high baud rate, okay, like 38400 for example, because that will minimize the lag. And please do refer to the user guide for updated number. But here I'm not going to change anything because we already entered all of the offset. Make sure though that the motion sensor source is set to SC if you use an SE30. Okay, so I'm going to click on close. Another setting which is quite important is transducer draft. And I know that this one can be a little bit confusing because we have multiple locations inside time zero where you can adjust the draft. So the first location, of course, is under the multi-beam sender. What's happening is that number will be sent to the DFF3D, and then the DFF3D will send back a depth that will be corrected. But we also have, under the initial setup option, some transducer offset. But you have to understand that these offsets that you find under the initial setup are only applied locally to this specific computer, to this specific time zero professional installation. And actually by default you can see that the transducer draft source is set to automatic. That means that if time zero receive a transducer draft information from the DFF3D, it will use that one and not the one that is here. But for good practice, I recommend to enter a good value under the multi-beam sender, and I also recommend to enter good value under the initial setup. That way you're sure that you will always have a good transducer draft information in time zero. Okay, so that's important. Then what we do recommend is to scroll back down under the multi-beam sender to the DFF3D monitor. And here we have a small window that show you various information. But the information I like to double check is the DFF3D pitch roll and the time zero pitch and roll. And allow me to explain quickly what the difference is. Well, the time zero pitch and roll at the bottom is actually the pitch time zero receives from the SE30. And the DFF3D pitch and roll just above is the information we get back from the DFF3D. So in theory, if you are sending the pitch and roll to the DFF3D, the one you get back should be the same. Okay, and here you can see that the value basically are duplicated, so that's a good sign. However, if you were to use the internal motion sensor of the DFF3D, then the DFF3D pitch and roll will be the one of the internal motion sensor. So that's why we have a small difference here. Okay, so that window is also useful to make sure that you receive other type of information. Be careful because some of the type like the section and like the water column will only show a good value if they are displayed in the background, okay? Because some of these data are not received until we display them in time zero. Okay, so don't freak out if you don't see a value here for some of these data, that's normal. Perfect, I'm going to close. No, before I close the window, something which is quite cool that you can use to troubleshoot is to check the display DFF3D SWOT on chart. And that will display, if I zoom in on my vessel here, that will display in green, we will see the current SWOT of the DFF3D, but in red, I believe we display maybe 20 or 30 red lines. So right now they are all stacked on top of each other because the boat is not moving, but we are going to move in a little bit. And I'm going to show you a video. And what's happening is what you want this red bar to be spaced equally, more or less, because that means that we send to the DFF3D good data. And something I like to do to make sure that the heading we send to the DFF3D is fast and good is to do a quick turn and make sure that the bar are equally spaced. And that will indicate that the heading that we send to the DFF3D is fast and of good quality. Okay. All right. So I think that's it for the main setting of the DFF3D. Please do refer to our user guide. I recommend to have a quick read of our installation chapter DFF3D. Even if you think you know everything about the DFF3D and the setup, please read the user guide. There are always some small tips and tricks. And I see you next time.